friend and partner Dennis to his 5th anniversary. Congratulations and all the best for you and for the years to come, and for good cooperation and steady health. Welcome once again to the 31st UDCG meeting. Mark, thank you very much for your hospitality again, your constant support, and for the reception at NATO headquarters. We continue to see a Russia with no discernible intention of bringing this war to an end. Even if Russia has gained some territory, it has paid dearly with enormous losses. An estimated 300,000 Russian casualties since the start of the year is a horrible price for this inhumane and illegal war of aggression. At the same time, we are seeing the brave Ukrainian defenders noticeably delay movements along the front lines. Moscow tries to mask its failures by terrorizing Ukrainian cities with massive air raids and provoking NATO with airspace violations. My friends, we should not allow ourselves to be sidetracked, and we must maintain a clear perspective. Current developments on the battlefield in Ukraine must strengthen, and we must maintain a clear perspective. Current developments on the battlefield must strengthen our resolve to continue our support for Ukraine. These developments show that Ukraine is successfully defending itself. They show that our support is making a difference. Two factors are important for the continued success of our support. Firstly, we must continue to act in a coordinated, unified, and systematic way. Second, we must develop innovative ideas and creative approaches to meet the challenges. Dennis, my friends, you can count on Germany. We will continue and expand our support for Ukraine. With new contracts, Germany will provide additional support amounting to over 2 billion euros. This will include a Pearl package to totaling $500 million US. The package addresses a number of urgent requirements of Ukraine. It provides air defense systems, Patriot interceptors, radar systems, and precision-guided artillery, rockets, and ammunition. Thanks to Pete and our teams for engaging in intense talk to get this done. Transparency to our taxpayers, which includes fair pricing, remains key to our success. Thank you for doing everything you could do. We will continue to strengthen Ukraine's air defense with new contracts on the delivery of another 2 IRIS-T air defense systems, including a large number of guided missiles as well as shoulder-fired air defense missiles. We will supply high-end anti-tank weapons, communication devices, and modern handheld weapons. We will also launch a comprehensive project to modernize weapon systems already delivered to Ukraine and to extend their service lives. This ensures that the weapon systems we supply are adapted to changing battlefield realities and can continue to be used reliably and effectively by Ukraine's armed forces. At the same time, we will continue to expand cooperation between the German and Ukrainian defense industry. We will underscore this intent by concluding a memorandum of understanding on defense industry cooperation, which will be signed by Dennis and me following this UDCG meeting. Support measures like these will only take full effect if they consistently follow Ukraine's requirements and are coordinated with our partners. The UDCG will continue to play a crucial role in this. To ensure that it remains highly relevant, the UDCG needs to adapt. John and I have announced this in the summer. Over the past weeks, we have been working with Dennis and Mark to determine how to align the UDCG and its support architecture. The following is important to us: to strictly align our actions with Ukraine's needs, to have lean and efficient coordination processes, to combine urgent support to Ukraine's armed forces with long-term capability building, and to achieve greater coherence with NATO and its support measures. With these guiding principles, we ensure that Ukraine will receive the support that it needs to regain its freedom and peace and to maintain it in the long term for Ukraine and for Europe. Thank you, and Slava Ukraini.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you all for being here. we meet today as 50 nations in support of Ukraine. Thank you all for being here. We meet today as 50 nations committed to stand by and to support Ukraine. We meet today on what is day 1,329 of President Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine, a war he thought he would win within a week. But we meet also today in a week which has seen a breakthrough peace plan signed in another terrible war, reminding us that even in the toughest times, that peace is possible. And Secretary Hegseth, I want to praise President Trump's essential leadership in securing that ceasefire in Gaza. That was peace secured through strength. And today, as we shift our focus back to the war in Ukraine, your presence here reminds us of President Trump's commitment also to secure peace in Ukraine. But until peace comes, Ukrainians, military and civilians alike, continue to fight with huge courage. Our determination must match their defiance. Our support must match Putin's escalation. And our role as members of this UDCG is to guarantee Ukraine's strength. In the 8 months since Boris and I jointly took over the leadership of this UDCG, this group has successfully secured pledges worth over £50 billion for military aid capabilities to Ukraine. And from today, as Boris has said, we can announce that the UDCG, that Ukraine and NATO will work even more closely together to respond to the challenge that Denis issued to us. Ukraine's request to better track, better coordinate, better deliver the support the Ukrainian warfighters need. And thank you, Mark, for your support for this initiative. But as we step up further, we must all deliver faster. This year, the UK is spending the highest ever level on military aid to Ukraine. And I can confirm that in the last 6 months alone, we've delivered over 85,000 drones into Ukraine. We've also signed a new industrial partnership with Ukraine, and that will see us rapidly develop new, improved interceptor drones, which we'll mass produce and then supply back into Ukraine in the thousands. And working with allies from Europe and beyond, the UK is also looking hard at how we support Ukraine through the important new Pearl mechanism. Finally, friends, this war was never about the fate of just one nation. President Putin's aggression is not confined to Ukraine. Drone incursions into Poland, violations of Estonia's airspace, election interference in Moldova. A secure Europe needs a strong Ukraine. And security for all our nations starts in Ukraine. So let's today reaffirm our purpose and our priorities. Support the fight today, secure the peace tomorrow, and stand ready to step up still further. Thank you all for attending this afternoon. With that, can I, on behalf of you all, welcome Denis to his first in-person UDCG meeting.
Thank you. Dear Boris, dear John, dear Pete, dear Mark, distinguished colleagues, friends, I'm grateful to all of you for being here today again and for staying with Ukraine through every challenge of this long and difficult war. Thank you. This is already the 31st meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, and I thank you for such unity. Ukraine never wanted this war. We want peace, real peace, based on justice and international law. We appreciate all efforts or personal efforts of President Trump to bring Russia to the peace negotiations. but Russia still believes it can gain more influence with bombs. Every night our cities are under attack. That's why we need truly strong global pressure in response to Russia's choice to keep the war going. This brings me to key priorities for 2025 and 2026. Let me focus on the three main pillars: Pearl, Ukrainian-made drones and missiles, as well as extended-range artillery ammunition. And there is one very important issue, long-range missiles, which our partners have. The name of these missiles everyone knows, absolutely widely known. We ask about this too, to increase pressure on Russia economically and through the destroying their military infrastructure. First and foremost, the Pearl initiative. Some of you are already part of it. Thank you for this. It is important that others join too. Pearl for 2025 must be fully implemented. We count on your continued coordination and financing to ensure timely deliveries. Funding needs under the Pearl next year will reach $12 to $20 billion. If needed, we are ready to discuss coordination of this project. The next priority is Ukrainian-made drones and missiles. We needed more FPV, ISR, and other drones to hold the front line. We continue to emphasize an urgent funding needs of $4 billion. In 2026, we will be able to build up to 10 million drones if partners commit the necessary funding. These are cost-efficient, fast, and combat-proven solutions. At the same time, our deep strike drones and missiles help us respond asymmetrically to Russian strikes. And again, I will repeat, we also need to combine our deep strike drones with deep strike missiles from our partners, and I argue about this, and we ask for this type of support. According to our data, the enemy Gaza line deficit now is up to 20% of their needs. There are significant effects from our weapons. Our third priority is to increase our strike depths directly at the front line. We need more extended range artillery rounds. We once again welcome the initiative of joint procurement of artillery ammunition, but to achieve the greatest effect on the battlefield, it should focus on supplying this type of extended range munition. As Russia's air terror continues, we also urgently need additional interceptors this winter, including air defense systems and both surface-to-air and air-launched guided missiles for NASAMS, IRIS-T, and F-16 platforms. In September alone, they launched over 5,600 strike drones and more than 180 missiles, targeting our civilian infrastructure and people. Therefore, on the eve of winter, it is very critical to provide us with necessary equipment to repel such attacks. I would also like to add a few words on our overall defense needs for 2026. We estimate them at $120 billion. Ukraine will cover half, $60 billion, from our national resources. We are asking partners to join us in covering the other half. The most effective path to meet this need is for our European and non-European partners to dedicate no less than 0.25% of their GDP to military support for Ukraine. If the $60 billion target is out of reach for Europe, for non-European partners, then the only remaining solution is a loan backed by frozen Russian assets, so it can be used to fund Ukraine's armed forces and their requirements. Why does this matter for all of us? Because together we are moving toward a new European defense architecture, and Ukraine's army today is the most experienced and capable in Europe. The technologies we are developing now, drones, interceptors, long-range strike systems, will strengthen Europe's resilience for decades. Colleagues, it would be a mistake to believe that peace is already near. The war continues every day in our strikes, and to each of you for your personal efforts, for your contributions of your nations, for our mutual unity, for strengthening of our nations in face of this aggression. Let us act together with resolve and without delay. Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Pete, you have it.
Thank you. Well, colleagues, Secretary General Rutte, Ministers of Defense, might I suggest ministers of war, from around the world, we gather at a very important moment. Over the past few months, European investment in defense for Ukraine has increased significantly. Now, of course, the United States will do our part, but Europeans must continue to take primary responsibility for the conventional defense of the continent. Now, as we have before, we're going to continue to constructively remind our allies of all of our Article 3 obligations. Article 3 of NATO states, by means of continuous and effective self-help and mutual aid, allies will maintain and develop their individual and collective capacity to resist armed attack. Today, and thanks to President Trump's efforts since the first term, we are seeing in real time allies taking this obligation seriously, including in Ukraine. A key mechanism to forge peace in Ukraine, as has been mentioned, is NATO's Priority Ukraine Requirements List, or PEARL, funding initiative. For those watching and not familiar, PEARL is how we supply weapons to Ukraine. Basically, Europe pays, the U.S. provides NATO fields. The best equipment in the world from the United States to Ukraine, paid for by European allies. General Grinkowicz, our supreme allied commander, the right guy at the right time, validates the assistance Ukraine requests through the PEARL initiative, and then our team within the War Department assesses those requests. It's a rigorous process, and so far has been effective. As a result, NATO allies have committed more than $2 billion in security assistance to Ukraine through the NATO PEARL initiative since August. Now, allies often say that Ukraine's security is synonymous with European security. Well, now then, therefore, is the time for all NATO countries to turn words into action in the form of PEARL investments. All countries around this table, no free riders. And I certainly appreciate Secretary Rutte's leadership in this important effort, and all the nations today that we've heard step up. Many more commitments just today to that PEARL initiative, which sends an incredible signal to the world about the commitment. I want to commend allies such as Germany and Poland for their efforts in meeting their 5% commitment, which is being invested in fielding combat-credible forces. I could name a lot of other countries as well, the Baltics and Nordics, that have done likewise, and we are grateful. All countries need to translate goals into guns, commitments into capabilities, and pledges into power. That's all that matters, hard power. It's the only thing belligerents actually respect. Your continued investment and leadership are vital to helping Ukraine defend itself and to bring an end to this conflict. Peace through strength. Now, Europe's political leaders have also endorsed military planning for the coalition of the willing by establishing an operational headquarters and committing personnel to that multinational force. Should a peace arrangement be reached, European leaders are sending a clear message to Russia. Now is the time to end this tragic war, stop the needless bloodshed, and come to the peace table. Now, if this war does not end, if there is no path to peace in the short term, then the United States, along with our allies, will take the steps necessary to impose costs on Russia for its continued aggression. If we must take this step, the U.S. War Department stands ready to do our part in ways that only the United States can do. We remain clear-eyed about the fact that the most effective deterrents to Russian aggression are, number one, a lethal, capable, and European-led NATO, and number two, a combat-credible Ukrainian military able to defend itself and thereby continue to deter Russian aggression along NATO's border. Again, peace through strength. Under President Trump's steadfast leadership, and in particular with our European allies, we're going to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. The war must end. Like we saw him do in Gaza and in the Middle East, President Trump knows how to forge peace, to create opportunities in situations, in scenarios where peace seems far off. He and he alone has the ability to do that. This is not a war that started on President Trump's watch, but it will end on his watch. So let us seize this moment, strongly forge peace in Ukraine, and let's bring peace through strength. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, dear Secretary of State Healy, Minister Pistorius, Secretary of War Hexet, Minister Schmihal, dear colleagues. Welcome back to NATO headquarters here in Brussels. And John and Boris, thank you again for your leadership. Since its inception, the UDCG has been the backbone of our collective support for Ukraine. This body and the equipment it delivers to the battlefield are a clear demonstration of the international community's support for Ukraine. I've discussed with Secretary Healy and Minister Pistorius how NATO can best help the UDCG, and NATO staff will provide all necessary support. We will assist across the board, from hosting meetings such as this one to providing the best data and analysis available. And together with Ukraine, the UK, Germany, and with your support, we will make the UDCG more effective at delivering what Ukraine needs. So I look forward to working with all of you to ensure our support for Ukraine is as predictable and as impactful as possible. And we all have a role to play here. NATO allies have committed to increase our defense spending and support to Ukraine, and we know that the support to Ukraine itself, by the way, will count to that defense spending. And I'm particularly focused here on Pearl. Secretary Hexet was also speaking about it, and others. Because this is the mechanism that supplies US weapons, both lethal and non-lethal, to Ukraine, paid for by NATO allies. And I hope we can announce further significant contributions today, building on the successful meeting of defense ministers this morning. I want to commend President Trump's leadership here. He has been clear-eyed from day one when he came into office that he wants to end this war. He has been successful in Gaza. It was really staggering what happened this week and the week before under his leadership. And I want to thank you, Pete, for the leadership you are providing from the Pentagon to make all of this possible and to support this program. It is really critical. In getting Ukraine the weapons it really needs quickly and at scale. It will enable Ukraine to protect its people and hold the front line. And again, I'm so happy for the US to keep that supply going and for the allies that have contributed in the financial sense. Ultimately, strengthening Ukraine today and putting them in the best possible negotiating position tomorrow, let's hope that that day comes soon, that they will sit at one table. This is all in our collective interest. And the outcome of this war will therefore impact us all, be it directly or indirectly, whether we like it or not. So please do all that you can. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
So thank you, ministers. Thank you, Secretary General. May I now ask the press to leave the room, please?